This is Governor Bobber. I like good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Good evening, everyone. It is Friday, and it's the three greatest doctors.
You're gonna get mail.
Doctors. It's kind of like
three that were available tonight had nothing else.
We're the best of Doctor Who's. You know,
we are the best doctors who would show up on time tonight.
Exactly. And welcome. It's been a busy week, and let me just start with introductions. We are joined by our answer to Andy Rooney, Brian Griffiths.
Got to workshop that intro a little bit. There's some
I know.
I don't like in it.
Yeah, I know. There was another one I had, but it slipped my mind. I had another analogy for Brian Griffiths. You know, I was gonna.
Yeah, the funny thing too, by the way, is the fact that is the
you are like Andy Rooney.
That is the exact same royalty-free song I used when I launched the Duck Pin almost a year ago when I did my first intro video. It's the exact same song, and I'm pretty sure I think I got it from Canva, and I'm wondering if you did too.
No, I got it. I got this one from Wondershare.
Okay.
And they've got a whole library, and I've also bought a CD actually of. I don't know if kids today even know what a CD is. When I say CDs, they think it's like a bank thing, but it's something you play music. But it's got like a bunch of public rights music on there. So I'm just going through them, seeing what I like, you know. And then I really wish Captain Kangaroo was public rights now, because that really has that's kind of what I was going for with the opening.
I'm not sure you got that, but that's okay.
I kept waiting for that to show up, but I'm glad it did.
And then we have Don Irvine, Media Dean, basically chairman of Access Academia. Don is basically ran for Maryland State Senate in District 19 10 years ago. I'd love to see him run again this year. You got 33% in 20.
Yeah, it's like college basketball or whatever, one and done.
Yeah. Or like for certain presidents, one and done. But it's been a busy week. The Enviros are out there. Yesterday we just had Earth Day, and I believe it's Stephen's birthday or Spencer's birthday was yesterday.
It was Stephen's birthday. And this is my sore point, not my wife's, but my. It's just that it wasn't that, you know, it was just happened to be the day that he was born.
Uh-huh.
This was a scheduled C-section, and she chose that date because of the doctor that was going to be available to do the operation. When I found out about it, I'm like, but you know, that's Earth Day. You know how I feel about it.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I made sure to light a big tire yesterday on fire in my backyard.
I drove around and stopped with windows down, air conditioning on in my Yukon. And I did a lot of frequent stops just for the sake of it.
See, frequent stops are good for us now because we've got a hybrid, so it just recharges.
Hey, I just pre-ordered the Hummer EV SUV. Put down the $100 deposit, you know, for it. I'll get it sometime in 2023.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Just like those people who bought those tickets on Pan Am to the moon back in 1969.
I can't wait to find out from you when you finally get that, how long it'll take you to charge that sucker.
Well, I'm going to have I'm having a plug put in on the outside, a dryer vent, like a dryer type, 220 to do the charging, but I'm waiting for them to tell me what kind of charging adapter, whatever. I tell you who has the best option is there's a company called Polestar, which is a division of Volvo. They give you a bunch of hookups, so you can go to any place and you can use the adapters to work in your car. So you could go to a Tesla or any other EV place to sign up. But
my favorite part about the electric vehicle fad, and I call it a fad, is because they forget that it takes so much fossil fuels for the most part to generate the electricity to fuel the electric car. So you're actually using more fossil fuel by having an electric vehicle than you are by just using gas.
But the Toyota Prius has a larger carbon footprint than my Yukon. My Hummer has a larger my Hummer EV will have a larger footprint than my Yukon. It's a big car. It can tow a boat.
Yeah, I don't care about my carbon footprint. I just want a van that can get me 42 miles a gallon driving to Florida. And it does. So cool.
Yeah, well, you know, my Yukon, I get 32 miles to the gallon. My Yukon going to Florida.
There you
Cruising down 95, you know, it's great.
Well, cruising is relative going down 95. But
no, I mean, like, I leave. What I do is I leave later, and I kind of take Governor Ehrlich's advice on going to the shore: leave early, stay late.
Oh, we leave like 4 o'clock in the morning. So
yeah. See, I basically stop at Florence no matter what time it is. Like once I got to Florence, it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, I'll stop. It's 2 o'clock. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, we did that a couple of years ago where we got a reservation in Florence, and we got to Florence. It was like 1:30 in the afternoon. And I'm like, we're not stopping here. So we pressed on to Savannah.
Obviously, your what do you call your reservation? You did get a refund because a lot nowadays you lose.
No, we stay with it's like a Hampton Inn. It's very easy to make change reservations.
That's true. Yeah,
it's 2021. People are like used to like changes now without being jerks about it.
By the way, that's actually where I stay when I'm in Florence. I stay at the Hampton Inn, and Florence has a lot of hotels on that interchain.
Yes, they do.
And first one I went to, I got suckered by La Quinta's television commercials. Think it'd be a nice place, and La Quinta's a dump. I'm sorry, it's not.
It depends on the La Quinta you hit. Now, I will tell you that I can't remember which hotel my in-laws stayed down there because we both left at the same day to get down there. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember what hotel it was, but the smell of weed was incredible.
La Quinta.
I don't think it was La Quinta though.
Huh. And I stayed at the Ramada's. I thought
never stayed at Ramada, dude.
I thought a Ramada was an upscale hotel.
It used to be.
Yeah.
We have gotten any more far afield at this point.
Oh yeah.
I know. Shall we circle back to where we were before with the EV and the Earth Day at least a little bit?
Yes, Earth Day. Yeah, it's all relative.
Yeah. Since we were talking about that, let's go ahead and just talk about President Biden and this whole climate summit and the whole agenda. I mean, we talk about a little bit about what Brian was alluding to too, is in terms of all of this stuff is going to take more fossil fuels to really generate. I was talking with somebody today, asking him, it's like, we have Honda says what they want to, they want to go all EV by 2040. So they're falling in line with the other car manufacturers is that, we're going to have these EV fleets. We have, Biden wanting to reduce, CO2 emissions by half of the 2005 number. But media reports are out there saying like, well, so we are, we had a 20% reduction because of COVID last year. It's like, that's not even half of what Biden wants to do. And that was COVID that caused that, that created that.
And here's the fun thing about all of that people forget is the fact that, one, fossil fuels still generate 61% of our electrical capacity. Natural gas has overtaken coal, but still, fossil fuels, 61%. All renewable energy combined creates 19% of our electrical capacity. The other 19% generating as much as other renewables is nuclear. The one clean source of energy that these people don't want to talk about because they got scared a few times and admittedly that would be bad. If we had continued building nuclear plants and not stop building them 30, 40 years ago, we actually might have a cleaner environment than we do now because we would have reduced our dependency on fossil fuels. The same people who want to take these drastic cuts of 50% of our 50% of our carbon footprint, whatever you want to say, they're the same people who oppose clean nuclear, which kind of tells you a little bit about where they're actually going with all of this.
And here's the thing, Brian, it's 3 Mile Island was not as big a deal as the media hyped it up to be. I mean, it was on for weeks and weeks about how horrible 3 Mile Island was nothing, If the French have been using nuclear power since the 1970s, they've learned how to dispose of the nuclear waste. And I'm thinking if the French can do it, we definitely can do it. We can do it better, frankly.
Technology is there.
Yeah. I mean, Yucca Mountain, there's nothing wrong with Yucca Mountain, storing the stuff there.
My favorite story about Yucca Mountain is the creation how Nevada was going to create Bullfrog County, Nevada, completely encircling Yucca Mountain population zero. and they were going to do that. And they were basically going to take all of the tax revenue that would have otherwise gone to the county, and it would have gone to the state, because there would be no county government in order to collect the money, so it would automatically default to the state. That got thrown out in court. But that's, government likes to find ways to do things.
Yeah, I mean, here's it. They want to ban natural gas is affordable and it's clean. I heard this morning, this one guy going, we shouldn't have any, everybody should switch to electric power. I don't know if anyone's ever had an electric water heater. When if you have a gas water heater, the hot water, when you run out of hot water, it doesn't turn into icy, you don't get an ice bath. While electric, when it runs out of hot water, guess what you're getting? You're getting a nice little ice.
I've had electric. I've had a gas. I never want anything other than gas ever again. The same thing with our stove. Having a gas stove is clutch, not just because it cooks better than electric. It's because it still works when the power's out.
Not if you have electric ignition.
There are ways to ignite it.
Yeah, I know there is. But here's the thing. I mean, look, and also technology industry. My house in Florida, we got 3 Renine, things. Renine is a brand name, but it's basically heats up the water just when you need it. Instantly, you get hot water, right? That's technology. That's progress. It takes like a third of the space of a hot water tank. They're relatively maintenance free, and I think that's the type of stuff we should be looking at. Not, let's all go to all electric. And electric is expensive. I don't know if you got Brian. I don't know if you're older to remember, but Virginia Power used to push the power home in Northern Virginia about how everybody should buy. This is back in the early 80s. They were pushing for everyone to buy all electric. They go, you get a heat pump. And here's the thing. Heat pumps stop working after a certain temperature. When it gets cold, then it kicks, onto the backup. And heat pumps are not a reliable technology. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Freon, which is now Puron. They're using in air conditioners. And then the other most ridiculous thing about Biden's environmental plan is we're supposed to be sending money over to countries like China to help them clean up their environment while they're sitting on basically burning fossil fuel like it's going out of style, frankly.
To say nothing of the fact that all of the components, all of the heavy metals that are used to build most of these components are mined in China, creating even new environmental pollution in China.
And while Biden, he's saying that we're going to try to do a lot of these things by 2030. The only thing China's agreeing to do is that we're going to start in 2030.
Yeah.
And China. We're talking about the communists. Do you trust or believe even that to be real?
No.
Anything along? No.
Honestly, Biden is asleep behind the wheel when it comes to foreign policy. Frankly, I don't want to pivot to this yet, but he wants to. All the communists after the fall of the Soviet, they all went into the environmental movement. All the communists are now enviros, and they are pushing this.
The irony of which should not be lost on anybody.
Yeah. And if you won't ever hear anybody talk, or basically if you were watching any of the news programs, they did a big thing on Earth Day about how Americans pollute way too much. I'm a vegetarian, but I don't think, Brian, are you going to give up eating meat? That's another thing Joe Biden wants people to do.
I have not eaten meat since about 1:30 this afternoon.
Yeah.
And I'm surviving.
Yeah. But can you do it? Can you do it for the next 30 days?
No, I'm not going to do that for the next 30 days because I did not get to the top of the food chain to eat carrots all the time. Okay.
Exactly.
That's just it's not sustainable. And besides, here's the thing that everybody forgets. Okay, so we're not going to eat meat. Cool. Now you've got a glut of livestock, all of whom poop and fart all over the place, which creates environmental runoff, which creates air pollution. You can't slaughter them because then the same people will be mad that you're killing them to start with. So it's not a serious solution. I understand the concerns that there are environmental concerns about industrial agriculture. And I have lots of thoughts about industrial agriculture that we're not going to get into today. But this is not not eating meat is not the solution, especially not eating fake meat is certainly not the solution either, because I think we've all seen Soylent Green, and we know how that ends. And
It was just on TV a few days ago.
what's that?
It was just on TV a few days ago, actually, last weekend.
It's timely. I find it funny that the same people who are concerned about GMOs and our plants want everybody else to eat this weird concoction of fake meat.
And here's the thing, and you know my stance on vegetarianism. Unless you're like a Vishnu Hindu, Buddhist, there's no reason for you to be a vegetarian, quite frankly. There is no reason at all. It is unhealthy. I know, like, then you got the jihadist vegetarians, the vegans who don't even eat cheese, butter, or dairy. I'm like, what are you, a bunch of nutcases, freaks, you know? And I've been accused of being a fake vegetarian by the vegans, by the way, because I eat dairy. I love dairy. I love ice cream. You know, I don't like milk though, but I do like ice cream. I do like cheese. You know, but that makes me a fake vegetarian, according to the vegans, who I call the jihadists of the vegetarian movement. But
so Dwight, I mean, is there such a thing as a plant-based pizza, and would you eat it?
no, I've tried it. You know that place? I forget the name of the place. They're out of business now. But they had a black bean crust, they had a cauliflower crust, and they had the regular crust. I've tried their black bean crust. It was horrible. My friend,
we'll eat like cauliflower rice. We'll eat veggie tots. We'll eat that kind of stuff, not because of any other reason that it's healthier and it helps try to get the kids to eat vegetables. But nobody wants to be eating a cauliflower crust pizza. Nobody wants that sadness in there.
Like our producer Bats, Bats does keto, and Bats basically hated that cauliflower crust. If you are doing keto, Blaze Pizza has a keto-friendly crust, which he says is a lot better.
Well, if you're doing keto, you can just use make a crust of bacon, and then you're fine.
Yeah, but no, he kind of likes the traditional pizza too. He was just telling me that. Actually, we just had that conversation today, actually, about good pizza places, But Bats. But here's the thing: not eating meat is not going to save the environment. I think what's going to save the environment. And by the way, Brian, I know I've put a deposit down for an EV, but EVs are not the solution. Hydrogen power, it's cheap. Hyundai makes a hydrogen powered car where the exhaust is just distilled water.
It would be great. I think people have seen the Hindenburg footage, so I think that they would be a little concerned by that, especially with the compressed hydrogen, which some of these cars would have. Look, I'm all for making a cleaner environment. And I tell you this though, the Green New Deal is not going to fix it. Joe Biden's not going to fix it. Yeah. Capitalism is going to fix it.
Exactly. I mean, look at this. Elon Musk, capitalist. He's not.
Well, okay, hold on. He gets a ton of subsidies. He does.
Well, I mean, so does General Motors and Ford and Chrysler.
And we should end all of those.
Yeah. But the whole. Green energy. It's really been able to sustain itself and grow because of the huge amount of subsidies. Mm-hmm. If the government hadn't been throwing all that subsidies at it, who was apt to buy a Tesla early on without a $7,500 credit, tax credit? That was a huge incentive.
Yeah, I think I'm getting
$100,000 car or something like that.
Well, yeah. I think I'm getting 20. What is it? On the Hummer, I think there's like 5,700 or something like that they're getting a tax rebate or whatever buying it, and then I get some other GM subsidies for it. But here's the thing: the big deal. Here's the thing: it's kind of people who are buying the Priuses. I don't know if you guys remember when the first Priuses came out. They had no get up and go. They were the ugliest things on four wheels. They were like the Toyota Echo. Then they turned it into a jelly bean.
But the Honda hybrid was super ugly.
Was that the Fit or something? No, that wasn't the Fit.
It was the.
Yeah, I don't remember.
EV. I think it was just called I think it was the Honda EV. And if you remember that, what was that movie about the storm where everyone's freezing, and the guy has to go to
tomorrow?
Yes, and they have to go to New York. The environmental scientist is driving around in one of those Honda EVs, but when he had to go save his son, guess what he had to use? His big, giant Suburban, to get to New York to save his kid.
He still had to walk the last 100 miles.
Yeah, I know. It's like, but at the end of the day, first of all, that's never going to happen. What I know, those folks in the movies, that's what the environmentalists all clamped onto that. I really find it really hard to believe anything these people say, because I remember in the late 70s, like 79, 80. Did you guys have weekly readers in school? Like, it was like a little
Well, in
thing.
1979, I was born, so I don't remember 1979 all that
No,
well.
but I mean, when you were growing up, did you have the thing called weekly reader at all?
I don't remember.
It was like a newsprint thing. It had a little puzzle, it had a jumble in there, and there was this kid.
Always the jumble.
And there was this kid, Tommy, who'd always cheat by looking at the answers. Which,
Not that you're bitter.
No, I don't care. I think it's funny.
Clearly, that's why you're bringing it up 40 years later. My favorite thing about that movie, Day After Tomorrow, is how it was adopted by the left, adopted by Al Gore, adopted by all these people. It was based on a book written by Art Bell.
Art Bell.
Enough said.
Coast to Coast AM. I mean, I think the next one they'll do and they'll adopt will be the Chariots of the Gods by Zechariah, whatever the guy's name is. He's kind of weird. He was like a bellhop. He wrote that book or something like that.
I'm still waiting for them to make a Lucifer's Hammer movie. That's the movie I want. They're never gonna make it.
They might. You never know. But going back to our,
I looked up the name of the car that was so ugly. The Insight, the Honda
Insight. Then they redesigned the Insight to look just like the Prius.
Later on, yeah, but that Insight was like, I don't know what you were thinking.
Was it a three-wheel car also? I seem to remember it only looked like a
three-wheel. It looks like one.
It's like it looks like I don't know if Brian, you probably don't remember this. Electroman and Dynagirl, Deidre Hall. It was like a rip-off one, Batman and Robin, because they had the electric car, the electric cave, but it was Deidre Hall and some other gal. But
I don't know what happened. They made electric cars that looked like the ones from Demolition Man, which actually were based off of GM, GM ultralight prototypes.
Yeah.
And they had those fuel cells in it, like you talked about. That would be cool. But of course, as soon as Simon Phoenix puts the glow rod in there, it explodes, proving the point again that hydrogen is very explosive.
It is.
All right, but we've let's go ahead and move on to another topic before. Otherwise, we'll spend the whole show talking about this thing, and I don't know where we're going to go. Let's talk about some of the things that have been going on here, particularly this whole thing with former police officer Derek Chauvin, and the jury came out. The verdict was guilty on all the counts, and so there's 8 weeks roughly until the sentencing. The thing that was just that all these reports as they're leading up to this, I was getting a lot like Ashur was like, watch the verdict being read live, tune into this or whatever. But this whole thing, I said, after it was done, it's like all these people hugging and all this, America's breathing a collective sigh of relief and all of this. But I don't know how that jury could have returned anything but that verdict just from the fact of all the publicity that was going on there, that knowing that if he got off on any of those counts, there's going to be riots and mayhem.
Well, not just that. It was the fact that they were basically doxxed by the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, which printed very specific information about the jurors.
And then you had Congresswoman Auntie Maxine, Mad Max. I don't like to call her that because that's a great movie, by the way. But Maxine Waters goes around and says, if it's not if it's not something we like, get it. She basically it was inciting riots, frankly.
And Joe Biden was very similar, saying that he prayed for a correct verdict. I mean, that's the crazy part about this, is that the judge basically acknowledged that and gave the jury a get out of jail free card. Basically, they could convict him, and that just passes the buck on to the appeals court. They kind of get them out of gets them out of hide. So, did he kill him? Yes. Was it murder? I don't know. Was it manslaughter? Almost certainly. Do I care that much? Honestly, not really.
Yeah, and Brian,
I hate to say that, but it's like, it's a local trial. I'm not invested in this.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, do we care about
all I wanted was justice to be served in Minneapolis, not to burn. So at least I got one of those.
Yeah. And here's something else, Brian. At the end of the day, first of all, I want to say, despite what CNN and MSLSD were saying, there was not a single person that I know on the right that was defending Chauvin, quite frankly.
There
was
were
not
some
one,
out there on social media.
but no one I
Many of them
knew.
with
No one I knew.
MAGA in their handle. It won't surprise you. Probably the same people, apologists for January 6th. They're out there. I don't know any personally because I probably would have punched them in the face. But
my point is this: if you listen to CNN, they basically said, "Oh, Republicans are all probably saddened by this." You had what's that idiot on CNN's name?
That doesn't narrow it down.
Yeah, that's way too broad.
Yeah.
From A to Z, they're all pretty idiotic.
Yeah. Well, basically, this one guy goes, a lot of Republicans are saddened tonight because Chauvin's going to jail. Like, nobody, first of all, I don't think any real Republicans were that invested in this. We don't want to see our country and our cities burned at the end of the day. Was this justice? Maybe. I think so. It was justice. I don't think, but I do think there's enough there that it's going to, on the appeal, he may not be convicted on the appeal. They may not get him on everything on the appeal. Because
I think that's what's going to happen, but I'm not a lawyer. So, it's hard
and I think, as a result, we have, you're going to see is the fact that we've got, and then we're going to see the real, and then you saw the Ohio situation that everybody says clear and simple. It was basically she was about to stab somebody and the cop shot her. I don't think the cop can fire a few tracer rounds, just the warning shots. You got to shoot to kill, quite frankly. You don't know what
I don't know. I've never taken police officer training. I don't know what the standard is in Ohio for use of force by a police officer. It's hard to say that a police officer should have done nothing there. And it's hard to say that a police officer should not have fired their service weapon. And I say that because if the officer goes in to try to physically restrain somebody with a knife, now you've got they are putting themselves in very serious harm's way. They're putting the attacker in harm's way. They are still putting the victim in harm's way. Again, I don't know the law, so I'm not going to say whether the officer is guilty of a crime or not. But I think it's very obvious that the use of the weapon was justified, at least to the casual person. I don't know what's going to happen in trial. I certainly think that, as expected, everybody overreacted to what happened, especially considering that a lot of the news organizations seem to want to gloss over the part where a stabbing was in process.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of an important piece of the puzzle there. But, it's like, I have never been in those shoes. I don't know what I would have done. I'd like to think I'd have done the same thing. And as long as it was, copacetic with my police training. But I'm not an officer, and I'm not going to second guess them in this instance.
And here's the thing. It's a split-second decision they have to make, And what I'd like to know is, where is the outrage about the little, 2-year-old, 3-year-old girl who was shot and killed in Chicago in a McDonald's drive-thru? Where is the outrage about that? There is no outrage. You don't see LeBron James or any of the Hollywood elitists running, to the camera to talk about how outrageous about the death of a 2-year-old or 3-year-old in Chicago. That is, and they seem to not care about that. They want to sensationalize, things. I think these folks, they want to see these cities burn. I don't know why. Maybe they just feel, hey, we feel. And by the way, don't ever go to anyone from Hollywood except President Reagan for any political advice, quite frankly.
I mean, if people want to be angry about a police shooting, be angry about the one in Houston where there was a carjacking and push came to shove and a cop shot a 1-year-old in the head.
Yeah.
You want to be angry about something, be angry about that. I'm angry about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not, how could you be angry about a police officer shooting somebody, actively trying to murder somebody?
Yeah, and here's the thing. You've got all of the folks on the left, that are talking about how, they want to, in D.C., they said, I think, was it a D.C., Don, where they wanted to give the cops no guns while they do a traffic stops or whatever. I think it was D.C. or Minnesota. It was somewhere, maybe New York even. But they want to have here's the thing. we all know a few years ago what happened at the Montgomery County Central Committee office. We had a certain person who came in, broke in. I was there with a volunteer. We left because he carries a gun. And and I could not believe when I called 911, I got the 911, I called them up and they're like, your call is very important to us. Please stay on the line. Your call will be answered. The order was received. And then when I get to somebody finally, I'm telling them, I go, can you send somebody? And they go, and they're playing 20 questions. Is the guy armed? Are you in harm's way? I'm like, send the damn cops, And
all of this would have been more easily saved if somebody there was legally carrying.
Yeah,
could have solved a lot of problems with that.
Yeah, and also if a certain chairman would have renewed a restraining order, it would have solved that problem, prevented that whole thing too. But my point is, who do we call when there's trouble? When you hear a thump in your backyard at night, who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters.
Social workers? Social workers? And that's what,
and that's been proposed too, sending out social workers to deal with. I mean, it's just a bevy of non-serious suggestions from non-serious people.
And
I mean, Emily Miller, wrote a pretty good piece. She outlined what it was like for her when she was covering on the scene things, so the shootings in DC and stuff like that. And she kind of laid out some points about, what they're facing and why they do what they do and everything like that. But what's remarkable is that even with this onslaught of liberal media bias and all this knee-jerk reaction and rush to judgment on this, was none other than Don Lemon, and Chris Cuomo, as they were talking the other night. Lemon was one of the first people out there that said, we have to kind of take a pause at this and look and see. And then he reiterated the other night that, what is the officer to do? He was defending Officer Reardon in what he did, with regard to that. Well, he definitely was going against the grain, and we know Lemon is no conservative. I mean, he called what the media has done journalistic malpractice. I mean, that from Don Lemon, I consider that pretty harsh. Of course, Joy Behar, that great intellect of The View, she's like, well, why couldn't he have just fired his gun, fired something in the air? Why couldn't they use taser?
Does Joy understand whatever goes
that
up?
bullet comes down, did she forget that?
Yeah. What goes up?
All cops are taken off the street.
Brian, she failed high school physics. She doesn't understand Newton's law.
Okay. But, I mean, lots of people didn't take high school physics, and they know that shooting the gun up in the air is stupid. I mean,
she thought, Joy Behar in her little mind thought the bullet would reach into the atmosphere. It would just be space junk. That's what, Can
you imagine if we were carrying guns that just, shot into space? What could possibly go wrong there? All of a sudden, you're shooting down the space station. That's not good.
I mean, this reminds me of an old episode of Barnaby Jones. Barnaby fired his gun in a parking garage in the air, and it ricocheted and killed someone. And Barnaby lost his gun, and they had to do a whole investigation and all that stuff. But yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, nothing good comes from shooting your gun in the air.
Yeah,
especially with a live round.
Just ask our friend Barnaby.
We know Brian's a big sports fan. What about LeBron's tweet about this whole thing?
I'm glad that the Chinese government let LeBron have an opinion on something. That's my problem. It's like you're talking to a guy who just glosses over the death camps that the Chinese have. It's very easy for a billionaire to have opinions, especially ones about China when they are not in China. I mean, I think it's just, look, LeBron's entitled to his opinion, and that's fine. Opinion, what opinions are like. But at the same time, it's like when you are using your platform as a famous person to basically say, get this cop who has not been accused of a crime at the moment. I mean, vigilante violence from a billionaire. I mean, that sounds a little Russian to me, don't you?
Well, I mean, I know, Brian, you're a fan of The Simpsons. What does Mayor Quimby say? No justice like angry mob justice.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what LeBron was going for there. I mean, at least he deleted it. Somebody, got the common sense to that. And then he followed it up with more nonsense. But, I just find it interesting that he wants to basically, kill cops, in the streets. Whereas, it's bad to have an opinion about Chinese death camps.
He just
By the
wants
way,
accountability. Come on, what do you mean he wants to kill somebody? He just wants accountability, right? I mean,
yeah.
that's what we're supposed to get out of that.
By the way,
Maybe he should be accountable for the fact he doesn't have as many rings as MJ.
Hey Brian, whatever.
Just saying.
Hey Brian, whatever happened to all the all the free Tibet Hollywood elitists, that used to talk about free Tibet? Where have all those Hollywood people that are always championing the downtrodden, all the where's Sally Struthers, or all of the Hollywood elitists talking about all the atrocities happening in China? They used to love to talk about.
That was always a weird thing that even happened. I'm still not sure why it happened. I know we got the cool concert at RFK Stadium from the Free Tibet movement. That is literally the one thing I remember about it. Was the concert. I'm pretty sure Rage Against the Machine was there. But I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's like the same people are running the show now, but
now you have people that want to. My favorite one was I'm trying to think which liberal talk show it was, but somebody was talking about how great Chinese culture is. They go, we could learn a lot from the Eastern philosophies of the Chinese, and I'm like, yeah, like what?
I mean, maybe before 1949, sure.
No, they're talking about like right now, like they were talking about how, I think they were talking about how they made it sound like acupuncture was invented by the Chinese communists.
Well, I wouldn't go get acupuncture anyway. It's just not my scene.
No, they were talking about how great, society, how great of a society that is. And they were talking about how
I'm sure all the folks in Wuhan who were locked down enjoyed that. I'm sure all of the people in the death camps really think it's a great society. What are they going to say next? North Korea is a paragon of virtue? I mean, what?
Ask Dennis Rodman.
Look what they're doing in Hong Kong, right? I mean, they've totally clamped down in Hong Kong. I mean, people, anybody who's spoken out against them, they're jailing them. I mean,
and that's what concerns me about all their their military moves in the Taiwan Strait right now too, is the fact that
Taiwan's next.
Well, yeah, the problem is if Taiwan's next, then we're in it, and now we've got a real.
No. Remember, Obama withdrew from that treaty we had with the.
We'll shoot. No, I trust me. We'll shoot.
I hope so. I hope so.
I think we're actually more likely to shoot with Biden than we were under Trump, honestly.
What we really should be doing is building military infrastructures. We should be enlarging our bases, projecting power, put ICBMs in China, put several.
We're not putting ICBMs in China unless we've launched them from North Dakota. So I'm sorry.
No, Japan. Did I say China? I meant Japan.
Well, no, I mean those would be
MRs.
Those would be medium and short range missiles at that point. I think Star Wars is what we really need. I mean, we really need to be able to.
Yes, we do. We need Star Wars, and that is the one thing. I really wish President Trump had pushed for Star Wars. Frankly, George W. Bush, big proponent of SDI. We all know SDI is why the Soviets cried uncle, quite frankly, because
I mean, I think they knew they couldn't shoot our stuff down. I mean, the issue was that we didn't want a first strike capability. We weren't going to use a first strike capability, but we wanted to make sure that that if the Soviets struck first, they weren't going to get here, and then they weren't shooting back.
Yeah, and that's part of the whole thing and it all ties all back together of what is the Biden family's relations with the Chinese Communist Party. What is going on? They've got he's, what do they call him, Mr. Big, or the big man or whatever. But he it's like it's a horror. We're in for a rough 2 years. Rough 4 years.
This is why it's so important to nominate a competent and credible candidate in 2014.
Mike Pence, 2024
rather, for president.
Mike Pence, 2024.
Don't see it happen.
Breaking news! I just got a text from Stephen, who just had his birthday yesterday. He just says he's engaged.
Congratulations, Stephen! Happy birthday!
On social media tomorrow. So he won't watch it. He won't be watching this program, so he won't know that I've already put this out there before he officially puts it out there. Just the three of us right now, whatever, right?
Well, Spencer watches the show sometimes, I think.
He might if he's up. Spencer's been doing that long-term substitute teaching, and it's
how's he liking that?
He's fine. He's in a low income area in the Phoenix area, and he says it can be grueling. He gets different assignments, and it just kids are good, and sometimes they're just not so good.
You need to
Just wait till it's June in Phoenix, and they're still in school.
Yeah, I know.
By the way, he should reach out to the Vanderhoops. I've told John and Sata about Spencer. They said, have him give him a call. They'd love to meet him and so on.
Yeah, Spencer's funny about those kind of things.
He's very introverted.
But anyway, all right.
But anyways, back to we were talking.
Let's go local a little bit here, which is DC statehood.
I say we annex DC. The nicer parts of DC come to Montgomery County. Everything else goes to Prince George's County.
No.
Why not?
No.
What? Do you want Anne Arundel County to have the nicer parts? Do you want to draw a little line?
No, I don't want any of it. In fact, I'd like to send parts of Montgomery County to DC.
Actually, all of the county, quite frankly, not part of the whole
fine.
county.
You know what?
And look, Prince George's.
Here's the problem with retrocession. First off, neither side wants it. DC residents don't want it. We don't want it. You have to get both sides to approve of that before Congress approves of it. That dog's not going to hunt. Okay. Partially because there's a lot of culture issues. There's a lot of political issues. There's a lot of business issues there. If that were to happen, Republicans would never win a statewide election again in Maryland. It would be over with. Larry Hogan wouldn't have had a chance in 2014 if we had the 600,000 people from DC in Maryland. DC, as far as statehood goes, it's unconstitutional.
Absolutely.
Even more frustrating, you've got all these chucklehead liberals out there who are saying, "Oh well, if we, it's Wyoming has 6% of the population of New York, and they have 2 senators. So let's combine Wyoming with Montana and North Dakota, combine North Dakota and South Dakota, and then we'll bring in DC and Puerto Rico." And I'm like, also unconstitutional. Y'all should really read Article 4, Section 3. Here, there are so many places that deserve statehood that are constitutional. Puerto Rico, Guam, American Samoa, the Northern Marianas, Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for Cuban statehood.
The new state of South Florida.
Once we're done with Cuba, then we start marching through Canada, and then there's already 47 states in Mexico. We'll get to them eventually.
Well, I tell you, my plan, to solve the immigration problem is this: the state of Newer Mexico, and hear me out here. For 35 years, they're not allowed to vote in American elections, but other than that, they can be Americans. They can pay taxes. We go down there. We send Halliburton down with the oil trucks. We start, getting the oil. We build a refinery. We turn Cancun into a real nice posh place, the whole area. And then in 35 years, when they become Americans and accustomed to thinking like Americans and speaking English and all that, then they can vote if they're going to vote Republican.
So here's my reasoning behind all of this. If you keep moving south, it's a lot easier to build a wall at the Darien Gap. It's like 20 miles long, than it is to build a 2,000-mile wall across the southern border with Mexico. It's a cost savings measure. Yeah,
very true. And by the way, we could, I believe Texas can be broken down into 7 states. How do you like that?
5, and I'm not entirely sure. There's some questions about that language. And I'm not sure Texans really want to be in the not Texas part of Texas based on.
No, it'd all be Texas. It'd be Texas North, Texas South, Texas East, Central Texas.
This plan has actually been floated in New York State, believe it or not, where they would divide basically New York into 3 states, except they would have what's that?
Long Island, New York City.
Long Island, New York City, and upstate, but they wouldn't actually be new states. They would just basically be administered as states. So each state would have its own legislature and governor, but they would still all be part of New York and only get 2 senators. And that's been a plan some people have had, basically to break up New York without having to get the feds involved. Because then you'd still be able to have your 2 senators receive federal funding and all this other jazz.
D'Amato could become a senator again if they gave Long Island statehood.
Well, no, my point is that New York and New York City, Long Island and New York City and upstate would all be 1 state federally.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, one of our viewers says Alaska could be divided twice as many as Texas.
This is true.
And just
nobody lives there, though.
But see, here's the thing. We can play. Here's the thing. Democrats, be careful what you're wishing for. Do you really want us to use our nuclear options? Because trust me, Texas, we'd get 5. We'd get 10 more Republican senators. We'd get basically 20 more senators out of Alaska. Yeah.
I was going to say, the state of northern Alaska, which is basically 1,000 people.
Sarah Palin's house.
I mean, even Sarah, you got to remember, it's like 14 hours from Sarah Palin's house north.
Yeah.
Like the board, like the more northernmost part of Alaska. I think people do not realize how massive Alaska
is. It is a big state. It is a very big state. Back in the third grade when we were learning the states, I actually did a report on Alaska. And Alaska is not, it's not a small state.
Back in those back with Supreme Court of 49 judges.
Finally, it'd be bigger than the Montgomery County Central Committee.
Yeah.
By one. It'd be only by one, though, Brian. It would be by one.
Only by one.
Only by one.
Yeah, we already see how that works in terms of how decisions are made with 48 people. Okay, it's a disaster.
Yeah, and then then you get a lot of bad people that join the committee too, and they just really ruin the harmony of the committee.
And you get bad people on every committee.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to have those bad people. It's just that with 48, and I understand the basis of why they did that, because that happened before I joined the Central Committee. But what you wind up with is that it makes it very hard to shepherd them all in the same direction, and you just you can see all the factions that have developed. And so
but here's the thing: before the last two administrations, Montgomery County, we worked really well under Michael Higgs, under Mark Unkerfer. And we've had 48 members since 2010. I mean, we've worked pretty effectively, except for the fact that some people are now whining because they don't get an aisle seat at the convention, and we're always in the back of the room. Maybe
we've already been punished by not having one man, one vote. So
yeah. By the way, I had a conversation with somebody from the shore. They actually want to go back to one man, one vote because they think that'd be more fair. And I'm like, no, I kind of like the LCD system now. We spilled a lot of blood and a lot of energy on this before.
That
was actually back when we blocked each other back then, I think, right, Brian?
Yeah, we did. That was during the Diana Gregg race for chairman, which Greg still hasn't forgiven me for.
And we thought that's Glasnost. That was look at that, Glasnost.
You've got me involved in Glasnost with a few people, and some people I've made peace with, and then look where they are now. But I mean, the LCD voting is still basically it's physics, particle physics to most people.
Well, I know basically one of the complaints, and I understand, because my last name is always in the middle of the alphabet, and I hated the fact that like in college they'd hand out by first name or they go last name from Z to A or A to Z, and it's still just as long. Makes no difference, so. I was suggesting because they're saying, all the big counties come first and then the shore counties because it's just how it is alphabetically. I go, what if we did this? We did A, Z, and then alternate like that. And
where's the lottery? What? How could that possibly be confusing? Every time it's a different order.
I like that. Or how's this? Everybody picks a number when they come in. The chairmans, when they go to the executive, they all pick a number, right?
Yeah,
and
there you go.
1 through 24, and that's how they're done.
I mean, do they forget Allegheny gets to go first? I mean, it's not like Allegheny's busting at the seams with people.
Yes, but they're saying Anne Arundel, Baltimore County, Montgomery County. We're fairly down that list.
I say y'all about halfway through the alphabet. So
yeah, not quite, but yeah, almost. But they go Baltimore, Howard, Anne Arundel. The big four counties are all up front.
All right, let's go back to some. How about President Biden is going to be addressing a joint session of Congress next week?
It's about time.
Address this. I mean,
I haven't watched presidential speeches to Congress in years just because it's all just a bunch of blah blah that never means anything. Every president has eventually addressed Congress in their first term. It does seem like it's been longer than usual. I don't care. I won't watch it.
I mean, George W.
It'll be different just in the fact that I think they're still going to have some COVID precautions, so it won't be it won't be like a full chamber or whatever either, right? There's a lot of limitations that are going to happen.
I'm in the camp that fully believes that we should go back to the old way of the State of the Union of just president mailing it over to Congress and being done with it, as opposed to the made television production that they have. I will say that selecting Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina to give the response was genius. Whoever's decision that was very smart, especially to watch the Washington Post just defecate themselves, making fools of themselves by trying to imply that his ancestors were rich landholders, which the man's descended from slaves. I want to see the flow chart on that. So it's it was a very smart pick. Tim Scott, incidentally, has been in Iowa recently, so make of that what you will.
Well,
I think there are going to be a lot of people like that testing the waters a little bit, right? Just seeing what's going on.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, he's a much better pick than who the Democrats had as their response for President Trump's first address to Congress.
Is that what's his face from Kentucky?
No, the Campbell Soup kid, the redheaded Kennedy.
Oh, well, I remember the one year the response was was the governor of Kentucky, and it's like, I'm a proud Democrat, but I'm also a proud Republican and Democrat and mostly American, and it's like
that was year 2, yeah. No, the Kennedy kid. It was, I think, Robert's nephew or grandson. I don't know.
I don't remember.
He lost to Ed Markey in the primary for Senate.
Okay, yeah, I know you, Joe.
Yeah. And he's going on about my uncle. He talks. He gets Robert Kennedy and John Kennedy confused. But as Ross Pierpont once told KKT in 2002, did you ever meet Ross? Were you around when Ross was running for office?
Ross, yeah.
Yeah, well, he basically was sitting next to KKT, and he goes, your family just has a bad gene pool, doesn't it? You guys have that reflectedness gene. And I'm like, Doc, you don't say that.
He was a character.
His net worth was multi-millions. He bought a castle in Germany because his daughter-in-law married a baron, and they had a castle, so he had to have his own castle. Yeah. I know. They don't make him like him anymore, though.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
they don't.
There are a few people like that. All right.
If you're not rich, you're just weird.
That's true. That is true. Actually, no. See, when you're rich, it's eccentric. When you're just an average, comfortable person like us, Brian, you're crazy.
I'm not crazy. I'm just weird.
No, but they say you're crazy.
Who are that?
All right, Dwight. I want your opinion on former President Bush and his evaluation of the Republican Party, where he's using the terms nativist, isolationist, protectionist.
I'm disappointed in President Bush's remarks. We're not nativist. First of all, I still think George W. Bush was one of our best presidents. He kept us safe from terrorists. No one can ever take that away from him. It was the Bush initiatives that led to energy, that helped us get to energy independence. We had an 8-year detour because of Barack Hussein Obama, but it was President Bush's initiatives. Now Joe Biden is just helping his friends in the oil industry. That's why the price of gas is going up. But I'm a little disappointed. I don't think there is an element of the Republican Party that is, as President Bush was saying, nativist, and so on. But I think it's more where the Republican Party is the party of law and order. We're not against immigration. We're against illegal aliens coming to America. We want people to, we're kind of like, what liberals say about abortion. They want to keep it safe and legal and rare. We want immigration, but we want them to come the safe way, where they get vaccinated, so they're not bringing in dreadful diseases into America. They come in and they understand what it is to be an American. They go through the process. We do the vetting of the individual. We find out if they're part of MS-13, and then we can say, no, sorry, we have our own criminals. Some of them are in Congress. Some are out of Congress, but we have enough of those. So sorry, you can't come. I know. You want to come into America and start a business, be the next Horatio Algiers? Come on in. And I think, we as a country, we should be very, very selective of who we let into the country. I think, I know a lot of people say, well, we're just taking the best and brightest, something. I'm sorry, we're America. We can take the best and brightest of the world because, we can be picky as we want. And here's something I'd like to tell Maxine Waters and all the lefties. If we're such a horrible, racist, despot country here, that it is just a horrible, horrible place, why do we have millions of people trying to come into this country illegally? Why?
I mean, the problem is that we are not nativist, racist, and all those other things.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is there's a lot of the loudest members of the party right now are, and some of them happen to be members of Congress, and some of them happen to be the most recent former president of the United States, and that's a problem. And that is a problem for the party's long-term viability, is that when you have chuckleheads like Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia going around,
anti-Semitic Marjorie Taylor Greene,
talking about Jewish space lasers and creating Anglo-Saxon caucuses, not the least of which problem of that is the fact that the Anglo-Saxons went out of style in 1066. And when you forget that the largest immigrant groups in this country are German and Irish, which are not Anglo-Saxons at all, as far as the ancestry. The problem is that we have this ecosystem right now on the right, which glorifies stupidity. And the stupidity of when Trump goes off and says something insane. People who are talking, like these not yahoos in Arizona right now who are auditing the election, and like that's going to change something. And they sold the broadcast rights to One American News. Green, Gosar, the right. We as a movement have moved past ideas, and unfortunately, it's the glorification of just people saying crazy things to get attention, and that's what's drawing people right now.
And I think you and I have had this conversation offline many a times, but I think one of the biggest problems is we've had a lot of influx of new. I am all for growing the Republican Party, but kind of like the same way, how illegals come into America and they tell us we have to learn Spanish, we have to start behaving like them, and be adaptive to their cultures. When you come into my Republican Party, we're the party of tax cuts, national security, and family values. That is what the Republican Party is. We're not the party for this, and we're not, and all you libertarians who keep thinking we should be legalizing marijuana and heroin and all that stuff. How'd that work out for you guys how many elections have your party won? Frankly. We are the Republican Party. We're the party of national. We're the party that defeated communism. We're the party that put man on the moon, frankly.
And that's the problem, is that so many of these people that Trump did bring in, and look, Trump brought a lot of people into the party. Okay, you can't deny that.
Yep.
But a lot of them don't like free trade. They want higher taxes. They want more government services. That's not how the Republican Party got to where it is today.
No, we're not. And it doesn't. I'll say NAFTA was not as bad as they all said it was, frankly. NAFTA,
free trade is good.
Yeah,
free
exactly.
trade won the
all these people that are whining about, NAFTA's been around since 1994, and you've still been out of work since 1994. How about it's you? It's not NAFTA. It's you chucklehead. Look,
I am sympathetic to the fact that Chinese steel is cheaper than American steel right now. Okay,
yeah,
I am sympathetic to that, but the solution to that is not to ban Chinese steel or make it cost prohibitive to import Chinese steel, because that makes everybody's prices go up, and that creates some of the inflation that we are seeing right now. You need to do is make better steel. If you make a higher quality product that people are willing to pay for over cheap Chinese steel, you're going to get somewhere. Nobody wants to do that.
And at last check, Bethlehem Steel in Bethlehem as well as in Sparrows Point, they're not churning out the Bessemer furnaces are not burning to crank out steel. Do they still use Bessemer furnaces? They're still using that.
I don't know.
No, but bottom line is we need to have what do you call? Oh, okay. Anyways, we need to the Republican Party has always been the party of new ideas. We're not the party of emotions. If you look at the Democrat Party is the party of emotion. They all, everything has to feel good. Oh, we got to be for abortion because it feels right. we got to be for this because it feels right. We are about facts and details. We're not about emotions, frankly. We are the party, again, of Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon, George W. Bush. We're the party that ended the Cold War. We're the party that put man on the moon. We're the party that cut taxes and oversaw the largest peacetime growth in American history. And I think if you want to be a Republican, just like if you want to be an American, brush up on your Republican history, understand what the party's all about. We're not about emotions. We're not about feelings. That's the Democrat Party. I feel the same way. If you recall, Brian, Millennial Maryland at the convention in, I want to say 2012 in Ocean City, it would have been the spring of 2013.
Yeah.
Millennial Maryland went around and put these little things. When we talk about family values, we lose elections. When we do this, so they wanted us to become more moderate and more, become, and I got news for you, Millennial Maryland, and I actually wrote that on one of their posters they had out there. I go, except 1968, 72, 1980, 84, 88, and 2000 and 2004.
I think all that needs to be said about Millennial Maryland is the fact that the founder of Millennial Maryland is a Democrat now.
Oh, really?
All right, Dwight, I think it's time for final thoughts.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, we really, wow. I figured we'd have more stuff covered since only 3 doctors. But anyway.
Yeah, 3 doctors who like to, or at least 2 of us who like to hear the sound of our own voice.
Yes, we do.
Not going to throw Don under that bus.
Don was like our Jeff. He didn't get to talk nearly as much, but yeah, more than Jeff talks when he's on the show. But final thoughts. Brian, do you want us to lead off?
Yeah, this was actually on our list of things to talk
multiple
about.
Thoughts, by the way, now. It's not just one thought.
Caitlyn Jenner, who you may realize is Bruce Jenner, who is
running for governor.
He's running for governor of California as a Republican. I got nothing. That's it. That's the thought. I can't.
Well, he's more conservative than Schwarzenegger.
That's not saying much.
I know.
Yeah.
He's no Firestone.
I'm struggling to figure out how voters are going to decide that if they decide to recall Gavin Newsom, that let's put the guy who had a sex change operation as governor, because that's going to work out okay. I'm struggling to wrap my mind around that.
Brian, you do know the Washington.
On the other hand, it would be perfect for California. It would be so California.
It would be on brand, and it would actually be hilarious if the first transgender governor of a state is a Republican.
That's right.
The Washington Post would go. They would just have. I don't know. I don't know what happened. They were like a collective seizure or something like that because they would. We can't attack this guy for this. And. Like I said, you could do more than one thought. So if you have multiple thoughts, about.
Yeah, that thought fried my brain so much. I will say this, though. In the past week, we did lose Matt Adams from the Eastern Shore. Cancer did take Matt. And everybody, I think, had at least one knockdown, drag out, near fist fight with Matt Adams at some point in their life. And trust me, I didn't talk to the guy for years after that. And, he made peace with a lot of people. He made a lot more enemies. And, everything that you can say about Matt Adams is the fact that he was very passionate about what he stood for and what he fought for. And, cancer sucks. I think we all know that cancer sucks. And, he was a relatively young, I think he was like 50 or something. He was a relatively young guy. So keep Matt and his family in your prayers. And F cancer.
Mm-hmm. And Brian, hang around afterwards. I got a funny story for you that you'll enjoy afterwards. We're off there. I got a story for you. Yeah. But Don, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I think a couple things. One is just, part also from our list. We had that crash of that Tesla in Houston that came around the curve or whatever, and that looks like there was no driver in the car. That maybe the driver got into the back seat or something like that. This one's really for Marcus,
So much for those safety features on autopilot.
Yeah, and Tesla was disputing it because they know they get all the data from the car pretty fast. But still, it's like these people, it's like, look, autopilot does not mean that you abandon the car like that. It just, I think those people unfortunately died, but they are, to use Brian's terms, they are chuckleheads for doing that. I mean, this is
John. I think they were fans of Knight Rider and thought Kit was driving for them, so they were thinking it was Knight Rider. See, we all
I would trust Knight Rider more than I would trust a Tesla, though.
Yeah. Plus the fact, the thing too is that when the car when the car with a lithium battery catches on fire, it is white hot. I mean, it takes extra care by the fire department to go and take care of that. So this is also becomes a big hazard as well. So something to go to all EVs in the future. That's if we have car crashes like we still do today, this is going to be even more problematic, I think, down though. I think I'll just leave it at that.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I've got a few final thoughts. One, I want to say the Shamrock Shakes are officially gone everywhere. They're gone.
I can't believe they made it this long.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they've been gone for like 2 weeks now because we tried to do it because according to Uber Eats, you could do a Shamrock Shake, not Uber Eats, DoorDash.
Yeah.
Said I could do a Shamrock Shake.
I'd like to remind you that they like on St. Patrick's Day night, mine was already not selling them.
Because I think they pour the stuff down the drain. It's it's Ray Kroc's World Irish, But yeah.
I still want the whole burger.
But that's what makes it special. If it was year round, it wouldn't be so special. So
well, that's true. It could become like the pumpkin spice latte, which we'll probably see in a couple of days now because it's gotten cold again. I think they just keep like stockpiles, that pumpkin spice nonsense.
Shamrock Shake for you, it also results in just a terrible distaste, hatred for pumpkin spice lattes and things like that.
I don't like pumpkin spice. It's not good, But anyways, my other final thoughts is we've got a great candidate for comptroller in the state of Maryland for the first time in a long time. It's an open seat, unless Peter Francho's polls show that there's no way in hell he's going to get the Democrat nomination.
This is the first time in my lifetime, at least, that we've actually run somebody who's been elected to something as the candidate for comptroller.
Yes. And I mean, when William Donald Schaefer run, I hate to say it, there was probably an awful lot of Republicans that voted for William Donald Schaefer.
Probably so. Yeah.
But Barry Glassman, he is a great guy. I tell you, for some reason, my ground line is on his phone list. So I get the Harford County updates. Like when he was doing the weekly COVID stuff, I was getting this is great. Why don't other county executives do that too? There was a snowstorm and there was something happening on Route 40 in Harford County. I got a call saying, hey, avoid Route 40. It's like, why can't our county executive do that, frankly? Oh, yeah, he's too busy trying to find things to tax. That's why. And Kelly Schultz has announced she's running for governor. She will make a fine governor, in my opinion. Also, I understand Michael Steele has reared his head up again, thinking he's going to be governor. Brian, do you think he's going to run as a Democrat?
No.
Because Michael Steele, and I know we haven't mentioned this guy's name so far, but I mean, Michael Steele is not that great of a lieutenant governor, frankly,
I mean, the lieutenant governor can only do so much. It's your job as lieutenant governor is to have a pulse, really, in Maryland. Yeah. So,
well, Ross Pierpont wanted to do away with the office of lieutenant governor because he goes, Maryland never had a lieutenant governor until after Spiro Agnew became vice president.
I think the lieutenant governor should be the president of the Senate. That's what I think.
That's the way it should be. It should be that way. That's how it is in a lot of other states. But shame on you, Michael Steele. How dare you think about running after campaigning against Republicans like Cory Gardner and Susan Collins with your John Wilkes Booth Project affiliation. Oh, I mean, Lincoln Project.
And I will say this. I don't think that he will be the only other. I think somebody from the Trump wing of the party will run.
Really? Okay.
I don't have a name. People have said Dan Cox. Take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. We'll pick up on that after we go off in a few minutes. But thank you, everyone. Also, by the way, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, go to the Montgomery County Republican Club's website or go to their YouTube page. And while you're there, visit our YouTube page and click like and smash the subscribe button for that all important YouTube algorithm for both sites. But we had a great town hall this past Wednesday with Governor Ehrlich, Governor Allen, Kyle Furby, who's the executive director of Young America's Foundation. We had over 100 college students from around the country participate in the town hall. It was awesome. So go check it out. It's now available. You can go watch it on YouTube, or you can watch it on the Montgomery County Republican Club website. Great things. And next week, we have Dave Bossie on our sister show, Direct Line, talk about Joe Biden's first 100 days, or as I like to call it, his 100 naps in office. And so we have that coming up next Wednesday. So be sure and tune in to Direct Line. And we are good. Just want to say goodbye, everyone. See everyone next week.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.